Hi and welcome to the podcast. And today I have the absolute pleasure of introducing my very dear friend, Emily Joan.
Hello.
16-year friendship. And the reason, obviously, why I'd like to have Emily on this episode is because for me, personally and business-wise, she is a inspiration and nothing short of remarkable in my opinion. So I do have a whole host of questions. I might divert off the subject a little bit every so often just because that's how I am. And I've not given Emily an agenda or any sort of insight to some of the questions that are going to be asked today. So
I'm going in blind.
you're going in blind.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, welcome. So if I look a bit nervous, she makes me feel nervous. I don't know.
You make me sound really scary.
Oh, we've got so much to talk about, though. You've covered so much ground in such a short, or what feels like a short time for me. I don't think it feels like that for you, perhaps.
Feels like forever.
It does. So if we start, like, from the beginning of our personal journey,
Yeah.
we met, I want to say the rugby club,
Yeah, it was, yeah.
and it kind of blossomed from there.
Yeah. We were both working at the rugby club.
Yeah, you were my manager.
Yeah. Which is so weird to me.
Yeah.
That's so strange.
And at the time, I was still working within a state agency, so it's a second job to help pay the bills, essentially. So that's what the sort of start of our friendship began.
We were so young then.
I know. And the memories that pop up in the Facebook.
We better cut out with age though, don't we? Yeah, I think we have. I cringed at myself.
Yeah, we look great.
16 years.
So I wanted to go back to 2011,
Yeah.
which was when you started your very first business, Bespoke Bride.
Yeah.
Did you want to explain a little bit more about that and where the idea came from, and just give us a little bit of information to get the conversation flowing?
Okay, so Bespoke Bride, I started that when I was in my final year of uni. So going back to the rugby club, I was actually made redundant and was thinking, like, how on earth am I going to get myself through the final year of uni? And I started making eco-friendly wedding stationery, and looking back on it now, like, it was so dumb. But it was like, what was it? It wasn't though, because obviously like it kicked off. It was crazy. But it was like eco-friendly stationery, recycled like cake trays, or like, you know, wedding cake.
How did you like laugh at you at the time?
Probably did. But that at the time, it like started to, it was working. It was like doing quite well, and then I needed someone to photograph the stuff that I was making, so I wanted to like sell it on Facebook. And my mum had a friend who had a daughter who was like good at photography, and it was like I totally joined forces.
Was this pre your photography days then?
Yeah, I had no photography experience whatsoever. Like, I would have had no clue what I was doing.
Okay.
And also because I wanted to, my career like is crazy because I wanted to be a science journalist. So when I then got introduced to the photographer, she was like, I've always wanted to do a blog, but I'm really bad at writing. So I can do the photography and you can do the writing. I think that would be a great experience for like writing.
Yeah.
I mean, again, looking back on it now, writing for a wedding blog is completely different to writing for a science journal or magazine.
Yeah.
But at the time, any experience was good experience. I was like, oh, this would be really good. So we joined forces, and the rest was history.
Yeah. So Bespoke Bride took a massive, it just went big, didn't it? It went crazy. And you had, was it something like 12 million followers?
Yeah.
That's insane.
You know, worldwide, which is crazy. And I really think that the reason that kicked off was because we had this opportunity to fly to America. And on our jet, we were in New York. I went to this massive wedding show there, just off the cuff. I met a wedding dress designer there called Deborah Lindquist. And so she was an eco couture designer. And I don't know whether it's just like the fact that we were from the UK, or I don't know. But she was like, take some of my dresses to Yosemite, a photographer. And that was literally what happened.
Wow.
So we went up Yosemite with, I would even hate to think about how much those dresses probably cost. No insurance, nothing. But this is how, like, innocent we were and naive.
Was he seeing something?
I think she did. And so we went up to Yosemite, just like found these random models. And then I think it was from there that it started to kick off. Obviously, those pictures, we were in Yosemite in the middle of summer and it's snowing.
Wow.
So it was like, I think they just did really well on Pinterest, and it just went from there, really.
And how long did you have the company for?
So we had it from 2011, we sold in 2022 during notice. So we went up for sale in the peak of COVID.
So you built up a company to the point where it was worth something, and
and we then sold it to a company in New York.
I'm really intrigued. What made you look at sort of digressing from the company, like the good, the bad, like
I think COVID obviously had a massive impact. So weddings just were the first thing to go. Obviously we couldn't have gatherings, and then because a lot of our business model was based on sponsorship and advertising, obviously everyone was cutting their funding. So we were the first ones to go because no one could afford to advertise. And so I think that was the biggest reason. The second one was that my business partner had then decided to move to Mexico. There was this massive time difference. And I think, if we're being honest, the reason that we probably did it for so long was we actually really loved working together. And when that no longer was an option, my business partner found it hard to come back because of COVID, so she was in Mexico. The fun just went from it. I had just got married, and getting married actually was really stressful. I felt like quite a lot of pressure to make our wedding look really like Pinteresty, Instagrammy.
Absolutely.
And at the time, probably didn't want to see another wedding again ever in my life. And so I think all these things combined, I was like, I think it's time for us to move on. Like, it's time for us to go our individual ways. We both had different ideas what we wanted to do going forward, and it was just felt like the right time to sell.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Because, like, I feel a little bit... Although my journey was slightly different, I started on my own, and Lucy and Scott joined me later on through the journey. I think my passion for the company has grown more so because of the relationship that we've built, and because we are all very aligned in what we want and what goals we have for the future. I think if I didn't have them on board, I think I'd perhaps lose a little bit of my love for the job as well.
And I think I'm noticing how lucky I was now, because I'm now trying to build 2 other businesses completely on my own, and that motivation is really hard to find when you're on your own.
Yeah, we spoke about this I think before though, haven't we?
So I think it's really important to try and, when you're on your own, try and surround yourself with people that are probably in the same boat. So that is hard to do, especially in an area that we live in.
And that's another like reason why I was so excited about getting you on, because mainly I don't want this to be property, Benny. So I want it to be about showing the younger generation that, you know, we've all come from similar backgrounds, obviously for different way, shape or form. But you can succeed, you can do well, and it is all about the people that you surround yourself with. And I appreciate that circle sort of shrinks a little bit, but if you can see what's possible, and obviously this is just the tip of the iceberg really compared to what else you've gone through in the last 60 years and where you are now, it's amazing, really. I'm proud.
Thank you. Join with you.
Oh, thank you. Looking back on your journey as an entrepreneur, I don't know if you see yourself as that.
No,
you don't.
It was so weird. I've got mega imposter syndrome.
Really?
Yeah. Even like the thought of like doing this podcast today, I said to my mum that I was doing it, and I was like, oh, you know, I listed all the stuff that I had to do, like all the milestones, and I feel like I'm on the outside, like looking in. I don't feel like I've lived it, if that makes sense. It's something I'm working really hard to overcome. Is this imposter syndrome?
That used to do it then. Yeah, I get that. It does. It will take a little bit of time. And I think it's things like this that will actually make you realise how far you've come.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah, so obviously coming from being, or you still are, an entrepreneur, the next step after selling on Bespoke Bride, you then become part of the community, was it Lydney Hub?
Yeah.
Lydney Hub. So tell us a little bit more about that and how you got into to join in.
So I think when I was doing Bespoke Bride, this is going to sound awful, but it was very, it was probably the start of like influencing, and we had YouTube. There was lots of like salesy stuff, and some of it just didn't fit well with like my values. And so I really at the time like felt like I needed something to fit with my values of like the impact of the community, being more, having like more of a meaningful lifestyle. And also at the time there was a lot going on in our community in ways of vandalism. There was quite high, I think at the time we just had like our first ever like knife crime.
Oh, really?
Statistics. Yeah, it was like we just feel like we need to do something for young people.
Yeah.
To raise aspiration here. It was, this was before COVID, so aspiration was really low. We did have one young person that was, and I hope she was such a good writer, and I really hope she has gone on to do great things with that. She wanted to be a novelist, and she was so good. And at time of losing, she was 16 at time of losing her. So they'd come through 11 to 16 years.
Yes.
And she was going on to college to do creative writing. So I hope. And I think that was a result of wanting to come. So again, going back, I wanted to like shout from the rooftops what a blog was and what it had done for us, because young people, like I said, in the area didn't know what that was.
Yeah.
And they were just going into like wanting to film YouTube videos and stuff like that. And I had someone that lived next door to me, and their son wanted to be a gamer.
Okay.
And when she found out that I had a YouTube channel, she was like, "Oh my God, please don't tell my son, because I don't want him to think that like that could be a career."
Okay.
And I was like, "Why not?" Because some of the highest money earners are gamers.
Okay.
But it was terrifying. Like probably still is terrifying for parents now, thinking their kids might want to go into like doing, now it'd be like TikTok.
Go the future now.
But it is the future. Yeah. Like the careers that we had 10, 20 years ago, even probably 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Are going, and they'll be replaced by something that will probably be online.
AI.
Yeah, it will. It will.
Scott knows all about that. He loves his little AI friend. So, where are you now within that community?
So I left in January of this year.
Yeah.
I probably would have left a lot sooner. I had ended up having a lot of health problems. I mean, they've been ongoing for probably as long as you've known me, but they really peaked in like 2023. And so I kind of needed to step back at that point, and other trustees but I mean, we had a board of trustees, so other people kind of stepped up and did a really good job, but I needed to go. So I left, mainly because we've now got a nearly 2-year-old. And so she's just taking all my time and energy.
I was literally just going to say that you poured so much of your energy into that. Like, where did you find the time, alongside some of the health issues and implications you were going through, whilst trying to run the hub, look after your health, and then later on through your health finding out things about yourself that perhaps you already knew but were never investigated enough to shed some clear light on what the future held for you.
And I think having all these projects, again, if I look back, I think having all these projects are probably a way of like keeping my mind busy, so I didn't have to face some of these issues.
I feel like now I say now I know you a bit more. Looking back, I think that probably, now I know where you are now.
Yeah.
I think I can resonate with you and relate to why you poured yourself into so many different things and tried to help everybody else. Yeah. You took all the focus and attention off yourself, and then obviously
and I think so it's no secret, I'm very open about it. We found out pretty early on, like 2016, 2017, that I couldn't have children, and having this whole youth club was a way of me like trying to be like, oh, there's a whole reason I can't have kids. It's because I'm meant to be pouring myself into all of these young people. Yeah, and so probably it was that was, again, like looking back, it's probably quite damaging now. Do you think that? I think it is, because I think I wasn't dealing with it, and I think I needed to process that.
Okay.
And probably wasn't fair to put that like on loads of, on a youth club. But yeah, and since I have definitely processed that now, and that was something I definitely had to do before we then adopted. And so I probably took on a lot of projects to try and like find a reason that I couldn't have my own biological children. I probably poured so much energy into it because I needed it to be a success. But once that young baby did come along, I had no time. It was definitely a time for me to realize that I couldn't juggle all these things anymore. And also, I think like I had real bad chronic pain with endometriosis, polycystic ovaries, and then I also had to have major back surgery. And I think that was probably my body's way of being like, you need to slow down. You're not like processing things, and you're chucking your energy into everything else. But so,
yeah, I wanted to revisit that one particular day when we'd gone to the coffee shop.
yeah,
And that was, I want to say, was that the day before you were due to fly out for your belated honeymoon?
yeah.
And we were getting up for a coffee.
Oh God, it was.
I shouldn't laugh.
It was. We can laugh now.
I can laugh now because I can't unsee the photo you sent me the following day in a wheelchair at the airport on my way to my honeymoon.
It was awful. It was that pain. So I'd been struggling with my back for ages.
It was tweaking, wasn't it?
It was tweaking, yeah. And then we'd literally just gone for coffee. And I think I must have just been sat in an awkward position on the chair or something. It just went. It went. Yeah. And I remember like going back home late. I was like, I just need to lay flat, like try and get it to go back in. And it just didn't. And it was awful. And I had to crawl through most of the airport. And in the end, they got me a wheelchair. And there was a point where I didn't think they was going to let us fly.
Wow.
I know, because they were like, I think we need to call you an ambulance. But I was like, no, I'm going on my honeymoon.
Can you? I can't remember. Your memory is obviously going to be a lot better than mine. So, were we discussing children at that point? Where were you in the adoption journey?
Yeah. So we'd started the adoption process in May of 2022.
Yeah.
And then we're going on our honeymoon. So there'd been so we'd like started the process, we filled out all the original paperwork and then never had a social worker allocated. And so then when I went on for months and I inquired and they were just really low staff and just couldn't take on new adopters at the time.
Yeah, it was quite deflating to listen to
was.
What you wanted and where you wanted to go. And I just felt like,
yeah,
just like it wasn't really...
It was a
but
weird
all of a
time.
sudden, what, like in such a short space of time,
it was crazy.
That happened with your back. You went on your honeymoon, and by the way, your photos looked incredible. Nobody would have even known that you did not
fighting that.
You could not walk.
There's a video of me. Like Matt did a video of me walking like to our beautiful accommodation. It was like a tree house, and I am literally walking like John Wayne, like I walk like I boot myself.
Nice.
But we like cropped the video in after, so it looked really pretty for Instagram.
Like, so because that you know what you're doing.
But I was
Sienna looked at the photo. There's one of you. I think you're lifting something up in your.
Oh, it's the fish.
Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah.
And in my head, I just kept thinking about the coffee shop moment. But not long after you got back from your honeymoon, what was the update? Because I feel like there was a big...
So there was an update. So basically, we got applied for adoption in the May of 2022, heard nothing, and it got to like December, and I was like, you know, I think I'm just going to take our names off the list. Like, we were constantly putting our lives on hold. Like, we'd had IVF previously, and I felt like we were putting our lives on hold for IVF. And then we started the adoption process, and I felt like we were putting our lives on hold to start the adoption process, and just nothing was happening. I thought we just need to move on. Like, we've never had a time, really, me and my husband together, where we weren't trying to have children. So I was ready to let it go, to be honest. And then we had a phone call just before Christmas, so I was like ready to let it go. I remember having that conversation with a friend. The next day I had a phone call from the adoption agency saying, right, we're ready to take you forward. Are you ready? And I was like, well, no, I've got a honeymoon coming up. And my back at that point was starting to tweak, but obviously, you know, I was just trying to ignore that. So they were like, okay, so when you're back off your honeymoon, we'll get going. So we did. That was what was going to happen. But life loves to throw me dramas, because whilst he was on our honeymoon and then I had a phone call to say, you can have a hysterectomy if you want a hysterectomy. Basically, I'd got on the waiting list for ages. So I had done my back in and then knew for a while that when we come back off the honeymoon, I was going to be going in literally 2 weeks later to have a full hysterectomy.
Wow.
So that obviously was going to put our adoption process like back as well. And little did I know, I then like literally 8 weeks later, I was going to have to go and have emergency back surgery as well. So it was all crazy.
This is like the other thing I think, like for me, you're such an inspiration, and I don't try not to keep on about it all the time because it's too much, but I don't want you to have a big head, but nothing beats you down. I know I've seen you go through some really low times, but they don't stay low for long.
No.
And you always like pick yourself back up and you put yourself fully into whatever it is that you've got your focus on. And that is like a massive admiration from me to you, like surrounding yourself with people that inspire you.
Yeah.
And the stuff you've been through in such a condensed time.
Yeah. I'm really like a protector of my energy. So if you're going to be around me and not, this is going to sound really bad, but like not really going to give much, I probably don't want to be around you.
So I feel privileged.
You should feel very privileged, yeah.
A really important one that I actually missed out, I don't know how, was the transition from midwifery?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I completely forgot about that.
Yeah. I know, that's so random, isn't it?
So how... I remember having the conversation when you decided to come away from it.
Yeah.
Was that another way to deflect from things going into it?
I think so. I think... So when we sold the blog, I was super lost with what I wanted to do next. Like I kind of thought we would sell it and I was going to have this epiphany moment of like, oh, this is what's next. That didn't come. And so like I wandered around really aimlessly like what am I going to do?
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think because I was still in that mindset of like wanting to give back to the community, and I don't know whether there probably was this like subconscious of being like, right, if I go and train as a midwife, that's another way of me getting over the fact I can't have my own biological children. So I think again, like in reflection, that probably was a big part. I was just trying to
I feel like that would be torture for me.
Do you?
Yes.
It was, do you know, honestly, it was the best thing I did. It was really therapeutic.
Was it?
And if anything, I come away from that thinking, like, thank God I don't have to give birth.
Really?
Yeah. Because no matter how beautiful it was, like, women that give birth are so freaking strong. And I'm not saying that I'm not strong.
The ugliest I've ever felt giving birth to a child.
No, honestly, it is. I feel so privileged to have like got to witness that, and I got 9 gorgeous babies into the world in that time. But I just thought I just don't think I could do that.
Really?
Yeah. So I do, but I think it was really therapeutic in a way.
That's not what I expected you to say back to me. So from leaving midwifery to obviously having the hysterectomy and then going from foster mum to adoptive mum, which is still in the transition at the moment. How do you navigate such big life changes? Because you're not quite there yet, are you?
Yeah, no. So we're still not officially adopters yet. And we've had, I think we went into early permanence, and we were early permanence carers. So we sat somewhere in between like foster carers and adopters. And there was a lot of preparation for that. So we always knew that when we welcomed a child into our home, there was a good chance they weren't going to stay.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of training that went into that. There was a lot of like getting ourselves mentally ready for that.
Yeah.
And I would say like no matter how much training you do or how much you try to mentally prepare, nothing will ever quite prepare you for the instability that you're going to have. We've had periods of time where we thought they were going to go back to their birth family. Then they weren't, then they were again. And that holding that is really difficult. I think we've obviously had to use each other for that, and our support system. We've got amazing friends and family. But it is really tough, but that you've always got to have that child in your mind, like that our child has always been at the forefront of everything we've done, and whatever's best for her has always been what we've always had to focus on.
Yeah.
Even when times have been hard, and I'm not going to lie, like the thought of her going back, even though we went into early permanence fully wanting to support their family getting them back.
Yeah.
We're human, and the thought of once we had those sort of 12 weeks with them and bond, yeah, you can't help it. You're human, and that is exactly what you're meant to do. Like you are obviously meant to keep it like that.
But when we had we didn't call it a baby shower.
No, it was adoption shower.
Adoption shower.
Yeah.
Can you just remind me? You didn't know about having a little one then, did you? Yeah. But it wasn't. I feel like it wasn't long afterwards in my mind.
No, so I think we had the adoption. I say we. It was only me. Had the adoption shower in the June, and we adopted we then took them in as foster in the October. So it was quite a while.
No, that for me felt a lot.
Yeah, well, I had my back operation in that time, so I had to wait to have that fully healed before we could re-enter the system again.
Yeah.
But
it was the call on the Friday.
Yeah.
Saying that there's a little bundle of joy waiting for you.
Yeah.
You heard nothing all weekend from memory and what we were saying. And then you got the call on the Monday saying, are you ready to come and collect it?
Yeah. Yeah, that was exactly how it happened.
Oh.
So had nothing ready, or because you also don't know the age of a child that you're going to take it.
And did you know whether it was going to be a male or a female?
No. So I'd say on the Friday we did know, because we had to be interviewed, but we was asked for another couple that were being interviewed for them, and then so that we did know like name and age and gender at that point.
It was only a couple of days old.
Yeah, a couple of weeks. Yeah.
So good.
Yeah. So the thing is, you just can't get anything ready though, because you don't know, like, especially at the age, you can't go out and buy like this baby stuff.
And I kept some stuff back in some dinner bags of Sienna's. Not that Sienna's taste is your taste, because it's very unique, and so is mine. But with the hope that it would be, you know, like
I've definitely still got some of it. I've still got the boots in a drawer waiting for them to grow into them.
Yeah, they got Converses.
Yeah. Let's do the drawer. They're still too big though, because she's teeny tiny.
This was the next one. So, with you having such a creative mind, what is inspiring you at this very moment in time? And tell us just a little bit of where you are at the moment, which I'm absolutely loving.
So, oh gosh, okay. So I would say having a little one now is probably what has inspired me mainly. So I'm trying to like have this more intentional, meaningful life. So I'm in the process of, are we talking like business or
both? So I know that your little one's your inspiration.
Yeah.
But from the creative point of view, and also I like the fact that we had the conversation earlier about you taking her to work with you.
Yeah.
So having that flexibility to a certain degree of being able to do something you love, something you're passionate about, and something that's new, because you are going into a new business again. But having your little one join you on that journey.
So she is having this like more meaningful, intentional life where I'm more flexible and I can spend as much time with her as possible. Has meant that I've needed to, not that I've needed to, but I've wanted to make sure that I go into entrepreneurship again.
I left it.
No, I never left it. No. So I've created Emily Joan Creative, which is a content creation agency, basically. And it's started off slow because I had to really figure out how to work in this world of motherhood, this new world of motherhood. Juggling all the plates is literally one of the hardest things I've ever had to do in my entire life.
Imagine.
But it's been a lot of fun and I'm really enjoying it, and I've got my first couple of clients, which has been really exciting, and so I've kind of been experimenting with them, research like how I can scale it. And so that's been, I love the world of content creation and social media.
I know what you do.
Yeah, and I see it's really annoying for people, but I actually see everything as be the life of like a TikTok or Instagram reel or which is so frustrating for my friends. Is like we've been on holiday together.
I know, I love that.
We've got to do this trend, we've got to do that trend, and we spend our whole holiday like filming stuff.
And I still can't get the hang of it. I'm still way behind.
But it is like my like brain is like been trimmed.
I'm so glad. I'm so proud that you've gone into that, because we actually had the pleasure of having our obviously our 10-year anniversary was in we had to have it delayed May. It was in April, but we had it in May. So we had an opening event, very, very short notice. I think it was like within a couple of days, maybe like 4 or 5 days of notifying everybody, but probably less than 24 hours of asking if you would kindly come along and help take some photos for our website and just, you know, be part of our evening. And they came out perfectly.
Good.
And the person that you obviously pleasing me is a bonus, but pleasing our media manager Scott, he was so like could not wait to see the images and the photos and, you know, trying to upgrade the website, and for him to say that he was really pleased with what you had prepared and sent over is
that was good.
Thanks. So you're welcome. So thank you for that, like being part of that. And
I really enjoyed it. It was really good.
Hopefully long may it continue, because we've got lots of ideas and plans that we haven't run by you, so that, you know, I might have touched on it sometimes, but So yeah, we've got lots of little things bubbling in the background, which are obviously property related, but we'd like to sort of see if there's a way of tying you in at some point. But so we'll have that conversation around time.
But the other thing I'm in the process of building is called the Kind Career app. Which I may have like briefly ran past it. It's just very early stages.
Okay.
But I'm just in research phase now. So the idea of it basically came from me having, I think, again, look, another reason that I've always gone into entrepreneurship is because having endometriosis plus this cobra, I've spent a lot of time like having chronic pain, which meant I really struggled to hold a job.
Okay.
So it meant that I had to have flexibility, which is why entrepreneurship really appealed to me. Since then, I've been introduced to so many people that have either got chronic illness such as endometriosis, cystic ovaries, adenomyosis. There are so many things, and then lots of neurodivergent people who all are really struggling to find jobs. People with disabilities.
So what does the app?
The app will use AI. You'll be pleased to hear to really help people navigate what their career is going to look like from early stages. Whether you're a career changer or coming out of college, university. So it will use everything. You can go as woo as you want and do like your human design, your personality type, or it can be really factual and just go based on what your qualifications you have or experience you have.
Okay.
Plow everything into it, and it will really help you navigate your way through your career, or really like handhold you through every section of like in your career to like, you know, can you afford to go to uni? Okay, no, I can't. Let's run you some free courses, or let's try and get you some work experience. It will really try and handhold you through every part of your career and match you to a career that's going to be really good for you based on all of those things that you input at the beginning. And I'm really wanted to start something called a kind career movement where employers think a lot more about how they can support people going into these jobs that may have disabilities or are neurodivergent or have chronic illness or all of the things, you know, that can make it really difficult for people to go to work. And that is a big thing in the news at the moment, where a lot of people just can't have jobs if they've got a disability because employers just can't support them.
Reflecting on all of the information that we've just discussed, which isn't even really covering all of it, I'm ashamed to say there's so much that I really wanted to try and sort of squeeze into this episode, but maybe we can take it on to another conversation at another point. Finally, what's next for you, both personally and professionally? So with the little one, that's on the cards very, very soon, imminently. Yeah. And the business is building and flourishing.
Yeah.
So anybody that, you know, has gone through difficult times, whether it be health or other reasons, it just goes to show that whatever you're going through, if you've got a goal, if you've got some ideas, that's where it all starts from. So
definitely. And then just making sure you've got the right people around you, I think.
I think that's key, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, that's amazing. Is there anything you wanted to ask or say before we try?
No, I just want to say a huge thank you for inviting me on. And I'm just so proud of everything you've created. And I remember having the conversation about starting the podcast, and I think it will absolutely be the most amazing thing that you'll do.
Well, thank you for your time.
Thank you for your time.
And thank you for watching if you've managed to get to the end of this episode. And yeah, look forward to seeing where this goes and celebrating August, September.
Yeah.
Things to come. So yeah, thank you for watching, and
thank you.
Like and subscribe.